Hey guys, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Andrew Seegers, and today we're again joined by Derek Bittner to discuss the latest screenshots from the past week for Super Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS. So let's get right into it. Alright Derek, so, this was a big week for Smash Bros. News, obviously, with the announcement of Rosalina and Luma. Now, we already talked about a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, and, several of the screenshots this week, just elaborate on that a little bit more. So I think this week, they went a little bit easy on us this week, since we already got the bulk of it out of the way.
Yeah.
But there was still some cool things shown off in addition to Rosalina that we haven't talked about yet, and they started the week off with an update on the Mega Man arena, and it shows that the Yellow Devil will actually fly in from the background, before he appears and does his warping or thing or whatever it is, whatever you call that move of his.
Yeah.
And you can, in the screenshot, you can just barely see him peeking out from behind the castle there. So I guess he'll, and Sakurai even mentions you can see him observing from afar. So I'm guessing you'll see him maybe pop up throughout the battle back there before he actually flies out to the battle zone.
It sounds like it's a nice little way to give a heads up to the players to say, hey, stay out of the way, he's coming in, because likely he's going to dissolve from back there and then form on the right side.
Right.
Or something to that effect. Honestly, it's hard to say what kind of, what this does, other than just the fact that there's that many small details to be found in this game. Because once again, our big thing with the Yellow Devil is trying to figure out whether he is a boss for the adventure mode or a stage hazard.
Right.
And this one doesn't confirm one way or the other.
Well, it doesn't confirm, and I thought it didn't even allude to anything up until I read that description. And now I'm thinking actually he might hint at him being a stage hazard. Because if Sakurai, is being literal with him, observing from afar, if he actually does just pop up, that suggests that, he appears, during a match. If you wouldn't enter a boss stage and just chill there while he's just watching you for no reason. You're not doing anything in the foreground. So I think this actually supports the idea that he actually is a stage hazard, as opposed to a boss character.
Yeah, you're probably right about that, which I think was what we've always been basically thinking of. Would just be cool to have boss characters return for the adventure mode, and that's really where we started going from on that whole line of thought. But no,
yeah, it still doesn't rule it out. I mean, maybe you fight enemies, for instance, in the story mode in this arena first before he actually appears.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that's certainly possible. We fought plenty of enemies in the adventure mode in Melee. I remember, of course, Goombas and Koopa Troopas in the Mario base levels, and then with Breedeads in the Zelda base levels. So we could have plenty of regular enemies pop up.
Yeah, exactly. So, it doesn't completely rule it out. But just going off of what we know, it does kind of hint at it being a stage hazard, but you never know. So yeah, it's kind of cool, though, to see, to see that there is going to be more happening in these backgrounds, that will interact with the foreground in some way, with this guy appearing. It's something that actually reminds me a little bit of, well, I guess all the Smash Bros. Have had it to some degree, but in the original Smash Bros., you would often see things animated in the background, like in Kirby's Arena, you would see King Dedede flying, or DDD, flying around in the background. You couldn't do anything with them, but you see him just, having a nice little flight back there, and there'd be things like that in every arena. So I wonder if there'll be, just a lot more background details like that in this game.
I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, probably.
Seems pretty safe to say. They love details like that in these games.
They do. Sakurai does love his details. Speaking of details, the next screenshot shows off something that we basically nailed before in our analysis, which is that in the Spirit Tracks level on 3DS, the train cars will be able to detach and other ones will roll up. So in this case, we can see that the Linebeck's trading company, the building that represents it, appears on a train car and attaches itself to right behind the main carriage. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, again, it is what we guessed. But that combined with the screenshot we had last week of the bomb car rolling up, it's clear this is gonna be a pretty dynamic level. Like, there's gonna be a lot of stuff happening here. I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's as we said before, it really reminds you of Big Blue, but I think the pace is going to be a little bit slower than in that game. But we thought they might be like passing by some of these well-known places, but it looks like this sort of indicates that they might keep it generic and just have the places come to you.
Yeah, that's kind of a funny way of doing it. They'll just have like the landmarks literally just roll up. Like, how awesome would it be like to see just Death Mountain roll up on the train car?
Oh god! Here comes Hyrule Castle.
yeah, right, exactly. So I guess one question is, do you think these will do anything? I mean, right here, I can't think of anything this would do in and of itself.
The only thing I can think of is the little wind veil at the top. Like, maybe you can hit that and it'll spin around to hit other opponents. But
that's a good one. That could be like the Sonic checkpoint from the Brawl Arena.
Yeah, exactly. But otherwise, I got nothing. I don't know what you can really do with that. It just seems to nice way to change up the layout is the best way I can come up with.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. And it does look like, according to Sakurai's description, only the rear train car will attach, it sounds like. So it looks like the engine itself and the first carriage will remain stationary. But it does make me wonder like how many more platforms they'll have, or what other ones they could even have. Like, I'm trying to think of other like building like things.
Yeah, it's been a while since I played Spirit Track, so I'm kind of drawing a blank here, but. There's a lot of dynamics to the trains that they could still implement here, as far as combat and barriers and stuff that come up like that. Well,
and weren't there? I believe, as I recall, there were missions too, or parts of the game where you would transport people. Like, I remember you had to transport that entire village of snow people. I forget what they were exactly. So maybe they could have like a train car of them like roll up, and they're kind of like spectators for a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, wouldn't it? So I wonder, one other thing I wonder is, like, how did these train cars get here? Do they just roll up by themselves and attach, or is there something pushing them?
It doesn't say in the description. It just says it'll detach and move backward. So the whole idea of it stopping at certain places to attach these might still hold true. Where it comes to a stop, a train last car gets attached, it'll move forward and eventually detach at some point, maybe.
That'd be really cool.
It's definitely dynamic as all get out, that's for sure.
Oh, you know what would be really cool now? I gotta stop it with these ideas. If you could somehow, like, how in the game you could, of course, control the train a little bit by, its speed or what's train track to take, which direction. What if you could do that here? How awesome would it be if you could, like, I don't know how they'd implement it, but, whether it's, interacting with Link in some way, or, there's some way to dictate, you're, like, maybe attacking Link makes the train go faster, or if there were parts, where you could actually choose which track to take, and it dictates, which environment you pass and which train cars roll up.
I don't know how they'd implement that at all. That seems.
I mean, they could have something. They could have like a lever appear on top or something, and whichever way the lever's facing.
That's a possibility. The only thing I could think of, as far as maybe not like changing which way you're going, but maybe one of the things that rolls up and attaches is a cannon that Link uses for defense. So he's getting attacked by enemies, and he's firing the cannon, but you got to watch out for the cannonballs because that'll knock you out as well.
Right. Yeah, that'd be cool too. Because now that I think about it, like, Smash Brothers arenas have always been big on the interaction, but it's usually a one-way interaction to the stage, working against you. I can't think of an example. I'm sure there has to be one, but I can't really think of one where you have like a direct impact on the stage itself. Beyond simple, beyond like simple interactions, like the checkpoint in Sonic, for instance.
Yeah, not that I can think of. The only one that comes to mind is the one Metroid stage where you can attack the things connecting the platforms, and it'll make the platforms tilt or separate or stuff like that. I forget.
Yeah, that's probably the bigger one. Yeah.
Nothing too major, that's for sure.
So it would be cool to see something more, something more interactive, something that actually changes like the arena itself, like, or like where you're actually going. I guess. I mean, that'd be huge, I think. All right. Well, moving on. Now we have the next image isn't terribly special. I mean, it's more just announcing that there was going to be a Smash, potential Smash news in the Nintendo Direct. Yeah, as far as I can tell, it shows off nothing new. We just see Peach using Toad as a shield, and then there's Link firing an arrow at poor Toad.
Yeah, it's just one of Sakurai's fun pictures. Nothing too major.
Exactly.
The hype was the fact is like, well, why is Sakurai mentioning the Direct? Is something coming? And obviously there was.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Although I do want to mention one thing real quick. In our analysis, a few people pointed out that at one point it looked like Bowser's shell had a crack in it. And I believe it was taken on this arena. But here's the thing: if you look at Toad, if you look at his his underpants, I guess. Well, that's something I didn't want to say. That's
Yeah.
Something those combination of words I never expected to say. You can see like what appears to be like a crack in them too. But here, it's obvious. It's just a leaf flying by, and I'm pretty sure that's the case for Bowser as well. So people thought that might have been an example of like them having real-time battle damage in this game, or taking physical damage. But I'm pretty sure that's not the case based on this screenshot.
Yeah, it seems odd that they would add that level of detail. I mean, like we just said, he likes to add details, but battle damage is something pretty major, and it's not something that really affects Smash Bros. In a way, because we've seen people go up to like 300-400% before getting knocked out. So yeah, exactly.
It seems like a lot of hassle for a small detail. Most people probably wouldn't notice. I mean, you have to do that for every character too. So, but it was an interesting idea, and in that screenshot, it did look like he took like some kind of damage. But
yeah,
pretty clearly not the case. Okay, moving on. We got another picture of Rosalina and Luma, with Luma doing like a headbutt attack against Mario, and it looks like he just nailed him in the groin, basically.
Kind of. No wonder Mario's eyes are so wide.
Yeah, that's not cool, Luma. Why would you do that, man? So the Sakurai in this one just confirms that Rosalina and Luma can be set farther apart, which we saw in the trailer several times. So it doesn't really show anything that we didn't know about before, besides you confirming the fact that you're able to control Luma from a distance, which again we were able to infer from the trailer. But that is a cool mechanic, and it is something that it looks like it's something that's more. It's going to be more. It's something you could kind of do with Ice Climbers too, in separating them. But it's more deliberate here. Like in Ice Climbers, always felt like a workaround, kind of like an exploit. Whereas here, this is a very deliberate part of how you play as her.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this might hold a clue to exactly how you do that, because it says you can use smash attacks. So the Luma is almost like its very own character in a way.
Right.
And it's remote control. Well, look at Rosalina's wand. It's actually glowing for once. I mean, I have to look back at all the other ones, but it seems like if you want to take a direct control, maybe you hit the B button or something like that, just standard special, and that's how you take control of Luma. But I'm not sure, maybe really advanced players can switch between the two really quickly. Use the Luma to smash up Mario, hit B, switch over to Rosalina, smash him back down, hit B, switch back to Luma, hit him back up, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That's something I kind of talk about a little bit in our analysis. I'm going to go back and look even more into it now that you mentioned it. But yeah, that is an interesting idea, and would definitely make this a even more interesting character than what she seemed like already.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said before, I think she will be a potentially highly technical character. But yeah, so make sure you guys stay tuned for our Smash Brothers analysis, or new second analysis, coming up very soon. Probably not too long after you hear this discussion, actually. And speaking of which, we have one more screenshot from Smash Brothers showing off, again, Luma this time. And this time we just see him shooting off into the stars, which is fitting because he's basically a star himself. And Sakurai mentions that, and in fact Sakurai even mentions that, a Luma becomes a star. Lumas are tough, but can be also blown away. Luckily there's an infinite number of them. So first off, that there's something interesting here because the name for this character is lying. It's Rosalina and Luma. That's crap. It's Rosalina and Lumas.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this basically just reconfirms what we saw in the trailer, which means the Lumas can be knocked out and leave Rosalina by herself. So like we've been saying that she has a lot of similarities with the Ice Climbers. She also has similarities with Captain Olimar because he can lose Pikmin and he can just draw more out. So it looks like it's the same thing with her, except it's just one character that she can control a bit more exactly.
So I wonder if there's like any kind of punishment for it. Because I mean, with Captain Olimar, of course, the main punishment is, it takes time to pull out all those Pikmin again. I mean, if you lose one, it's not a big deal. It takes just a second to pull that out. But if you lose all 6, that definitely sets you back. Then whereas with Luma's a single character, so it would seem like it seems like it would be trivial to just pull out another one. So I'm wondering if like it takes a little while to summon them, maybe. If the animation's a little bit involved, or
I think that's the case because we actually see her summoning one in the trailer, and it's a much more involved motion than Captain Olimar, where he's just pluck, 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 pluck.
Right.
So I think that's the trade-off there.
Yeah. So I think that makes complete sense to me. It's just gonna make it really hard to play as the Ice Climbers now. I feel like because you can't bring Nana back when she's dead. So once Nana's gone, she's gone for good.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like
or Popo.
Yeah, it's interesting how she draws from these two characters that are similar but very different as far as her moveset, as well as bringing in her own thing.
It is, yeah.
Really interested. I've been interested in trying out all these new characters, but especially Rosalina, just because she is so much different than the others that we've seen.
She really is. I mean, we kind of talked about it before, and I don't want to go too far into it, but yeah, after our last discussion, it kind of occurred to me. It seems like, how many new characters do we know of so far that are brand new? Is it just Mega Man and Mega Man, Rosalina, and Wii Fit Trainer and the Villager, right? Yeah. To me, it almost seems like, I don't know, it could just be because they're new, like they have a new car smell, but it almost seems like they're almost having more thought put into them than previous Smash characters, like if you know where I'm coming from for the most part, like especially Mega Man and Rosalina, like it seems like they went all out with these two, making every move just really seem really distinct, just having these really distinct attributes.
Yeah. It definitely feels like that way, especially when you compare it to somebody like, I mean, Snake was obviously really involved in Brawl.
Right, that's true.
But Sonic doesn't feel quite as unique, just because there's so many, like, his spinball attacks are all very similar.
The Sonic really did feel like perhaps like the most generic character, or the most generic imagining of a character in Smash Bros.
Yeah, I like him. I like using him, but he does come across as generic because he doesn't have all these different types of moves and strategies. He's good.
Yeah, he's got like 10 different ways of doing the same move.
Yeah. I think that's why these other new characters seem like they have so much more detail. Now, other new characters, like there's a lot involved with Olimar, of course. All he can do. And the fact that each Pikmin he uses have different attributes to make him very versatile.
Yeah, well, I kind of hope that they do go back and maybe update some of the older characters, especially Sonic. Just give them a few more, distinctive moves, or add a couple distinctive moves to their moveset. Mm-hmm. Just because some of them I feel like, as with Sonic, will just feel really lame. Sonic already felt lame, I mean, from a moveset perspective. And comparing him now to these new ones, I think is going to be even more so. Alright, well, I think that wraps up our Smash Brothers discussion this week. There was a lot of Smash news. So, guys, make sure to check out our previous coverage, including our discussion from earlier this week on Rosalina and Luma specifically, as well as our upcoming analysis, which may already be up too by the time you hear this, just because of how the internet works. And I'm sure we'll have tons more news, our plan is to keep doing this every Friday, so make sure to stay tuned for upcoming discussions following the weekly screenshots. Otherwise, keep an eye on GameXplain.com, as well as our Facebook and Twitter pages at GameXplain to keep up with everything we do. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.